find some prototype bowls for a new project that I'm experimenting with. And the shape of the bowls that I'm using is either a round or an oval. So I'm taking a break from the lobe bowls and fancier shapes that I've been working with. Now, the easiest and fastest way to sand the exterior of the bowl, notice the inside here has already been sanded, which is the procedure prior to putting on the base. Right, with straight-sided bowls, you set the angle on the belt sander, and you just sand away until the outside is silky smooth, and then you sand through the grits, but the hard work's been done. This bowl has curved sides. It started out at a 24-degree angle, and it worked its way down to a 35-degree angle. And obviously you can't sand a curved bowl on a straight-sided belt, but you can get a jump on the sanding before you start with the flexible pads, which allow you to shape it. We're going to get rid of all of this excess stuff, dried glue, and things that are really a nuisance to sand. And not only that, in the efforts of sanding it away, you sometimes sand in ridges that you then have to sand out. So it occurred to me one day that I could think of this as little segments and sand each of those segments. So the sequence I'm going to follow is first to set the sander. I'm not concerned with the angle, the actual angle, but I'm setting it just so the angle's a little steeper than the first ring. I don't want to sand away the first ring. If I set it at that angle, it would sand it away. The second ring is the one that's protruding, and that's the one I want to get down. And once that's done, I'm going to work my way through to the bottom to get rid of all the irregularities without taking off any of the meat of the side of the bowl. All right, let me get started, and we'll do the top ring first. Gave the table a little tweak while I was sanding. And what you see here is not a perfect job, but that's not what my aim was, but it's a lot smoother than it was. Now I'm going to work my way to the next one, and I'll get rid of the material here. I do a rough setup by tweaking the table. I leave it a little bit loose, but just enough to hold itself. And as I turn it, I watch carefully, and if I have to lift it or tweak it a little bit as I'm doing it, I do so. And since the grit that I'm using, I think it's a 180 grit, is a fairly gentle grit, I'm not sanding in too many scratches or sanding off too much wood. So now I'm going to move down the next tier. Down so that the first 4 rings have been touched to some extent. And now I'm going to take on the base. The base is protruding quite a bit, so I'll be pulling it in. And of course, as you work, you want to feel the thickness of the side of the bowls to see if you've done anything you shouldn't. And these are all still quite thick. I'm using a bowl with a 5/16 inch ring width, which is my compromise between the 1/4 inch, which is a little too delicate for my purposes, and the 3/8, which to me looks a little bit too clunky since I'll be carving into this. So now I'm going to do the last sanding. Before I do this, I'll set my table up. It's a little tricky getting it loose enough to move, but not so loose that I lose everything. But I think this should be doable. should work. Sometimes you just play around a little bit. Down around here, you usually have plenty of meat anyway. And I think this should work. See, this is hardly a finished project, but you can see the shape has been roughed out. A lot of the excess wood has been removed. And if you start at this point, then you've already got a jump on it. It'll be easier to get a nice rounded shape. I could have gone a little further, but as you know, it's better to take off less wood than more. And you don't have to do it all the way. If you find your base sticks out too much, then just bring the base into line before you go. But I think it's worthwhile, and of course you can't use it for bowls that are lobed, but any bowl that has a regular profile, a rounded square would work, and as I mentioned, an oval or a round bowl, and it just makes the sanding go that much more quickly, and why should you spend more time than you have to? I hope this has been a helpful tip. Thanks for watching, and have fun with your bowls.